Okay, so welcome to this conversation. This is I was really looking forward to this, not just for the question that is asked, but also two amazing panelists I have who I will be introducing. So the big question is, should India regulate big tech to help grow its homegrown local tech startup ecosystem? This question has been asked not for the first time, but ever since I started my career 2 decades ago. I watched everyone from Sachin Bansal to the Redbus founders and so many others at different stages have asked this question. I have witnessed investors being anxious about this question because of the regulatory environment and a lot of sporadic messaging around this question. But if there were two people I would really like to have to do some sense making here, I have both of them. So please join me in welcoming Anand Lunia, who is a really important voice in the ecosystem, as I described him earlier today, in terms of asking questions that matter. Anand, welcome to this conversation.
Thanks, Pankaj, for the euphemistic use of really important voice.
Okay. And Rajesh Sani, most of us know him from GSF, but I have watched Rajesh really work closely with so many founders over the years in my career. I mean, not just hand-holding them, but being a voice of sanity in that sense, and he has had his own battles over the years, I'm sure, in working with these founders. He's shown different, he's actually watched different stages of the ecosystem. So with both of you, I think we are best positioned to tackle this question. So let's start. Uh, Let us start with some agenda setting insights in answering these questions in a way where we not just bring our own opinion, but also try and offer a little sense making to people. Now, let me start with Rajesh. Rajesh, how will you tackle this question? Should India regulate to support, groom homegrown startups and tech ecosystem or not? What should it be doing?
Yeah. So a couple of points. So let me take explain it with an analogy, right? So I think the most important development in the global tech ecosystem has been the rise of TikTok, ByteDance, in the last 2 3 years. And I think that there was this view earlier in the West that only they are capable of creating global technology platforms. And this platform, which came out of nowhere in China, has destroyed that myth. And I think in a way, it has given hope to people in Indonesia or in people in India that we can also do that, right? Why do we only need to build SaaS companies? Why cannot ShareChat be the voice of the world, right? So it's about belief. The other point is about look how smart Chinese are. And this is their operating philosophy. What is mine, what is yours is negotiable or also mine, right? So they have created an iron curtain around their digital economy with whichever means, and it's well documented how that iron curtain works. The Great Wall of China works, but it doesn't work when they take their products out, and when they take those out, especially in the democratic worlds, right? And there they don't want to play by the rules of those worlds, right? They want to play with their rules, right? So the question for me is really not, I will de-link the two issues. One is, should the big tech be regulated? Of course, it should be regulated. It should be regulated in America. It should be regulated in China, that China is regulating it in a harsher way. And it should be regulated in US. It should also be regulated in India by its Indian norms, right? What is our law of land? They part of that. They cannot operate if they don't abide by that part of law. The second issue is, should it be done to protect Indian startups? I think that's where I slightly disagree. I think these two issues have to de-link. I think the issue of regulation is to protect Indian consumer, right? So that's where Indian consumer needs protection. Now think about it, how manipulative a platform like Google can be if 1 billion people can only download their apps through Google Play Store, right? There is no choice, there is no competition, there is no other access. And that is the role of the regulators, to create enough competition so that consumers have choice. And that competition has to come from Indians, right? So one is what's the choice, and the second is, now I'll come to how each and every government is working across the world to create ecosystems to help their own entrepreneurs, whether it's digital or non-digital. What is PLI scheme? What is Government of India trying to do? Is trying to incentivize Indian entrepreneurs to put more production capacity in India, right? It's the same thing. Why don't we have a PLI for digital entrepreneurs, right? But we have a penalty for them. We don't have a PLI for them, right? So access of capital to Amazon cannot be same as access to capital even for a well-funded Indian startup. The cost of capital for Amazon is zero, right? They get that capital at zero, right? We get that capital at much higher percentage of cost. So government has to think about these issues holistically and provide a battlefield in which Indian entrepreneurs have equal chance and Indian consumers are protected. I think these are the 2 points with which I will make the initial argument. I'll come back to your subsequent question, but I think Anand is itching for his comments now.
Anand, before you start answering, just a couple of pointers, right? And Rajesh talked about the need to regulate big tech. I mean, there's not taking that away from the ecosystem, but the context is what is making this question very burning, Anand, right? And you have been pointing it out through being an important voice on Twitter and elsewhere, right? You look around, it's not just Facebook, Google, there is Jio, there's so many things happening. If I'm an Indian founder, I'll be worried. I'll be really, really worried and asking this question myself. So help us set the agenda here.
Sure. Pankaj, I actually feel, in a difficult position, because as a VC, batting for getting regulation into technology is not necessarily like I ever thought I'll do, right? I mean, we actually thrive at the edges of regulation, right? And most of the startups actually, break the boundaries of regulation. Right? So yet, I think what we are saying is, and what Rajesh was saying, referring to big tech, I would simply refer to them as the enablers of startups, right? So the same way we regulate electricity, right? The same way broadband is regulated in the country, the same way probably oil prices are regulated in the country, right? It's the same way the services provided by a platform like Google, right? Or a platform like Amazon, right? Or a platform like Microsoft or Facebook or any of these big platforms, right? Which, while they might be a technology player themselves, but they're also an infrastructure provider, right? Somebody who's providing cloud hosting is an infra provider also, right? Apart from being a technology company. And to that extent, as an example, and I'll come back to that later, right? We will not be happy if the electricity provider, right, who has a license, is definitely a monopoly, designed to be a duopoly in each city at the best, right? The electricity provider cannot be asking, saying, dude, you depend on me. I have to be 24/7 power. And hence, instead of charging you per unit, I'm going to charge 30% of your revenue, right? Welcome to the discussion, right? So that's my point, right? It's as simple as that. And that's the point Rajesh hinted at big tech. The other point I want to make about is that, why should we do this, right? As a country, and what are the models possible? I do have a solution to, should we be favoring Indian startups like China? I don't think so, but I think we should be favoring Indian interests. Right? I will not be just pro-consumer. I would say there is a thing called a national interest. If you look at the history of Indian oil, right, the biggest drag on the Indian economy, right, today is our dependence on imported oil. I mean, a large part of our foreign deficit today is because of oil import, and that's something that and we need oil. I mean, we need to increase our fiscal deficit. The point then is that if data is the new oil, I think that's a statement nobody's going to dispute. Where does our national interest lie? Does our national interest lie in the consumer benefit of providing him free services today, or does the national interest lie in becoming independent? We want energy independence, we want data independence also, right? We want not to be dependent on importing data, right? And now every time we see Google or Facebook importing digital services into India, right? And they're of course providing stuff for free to Indians, and Amazon is actually providing discounting, right? Now every time Amazon raises a couple of $1 billion for a discounted sale, right? The misfortune here is that the Amazon discounting that comes into the country as foreign direct investment (FDI), we celebrate that, right? I mean, a Western company here, forget Western company, any non-Indian company is importing technology into India, doing a land grab, out and out land grab by heavy discounting, and we are celebrating regularly. Right? Just look at the headlines, right? I mean, starting from media, and there are a lot of ministers. We all celebrate. What did we get? We got call center job. Right? Google doesn't develop technology in India, neither does Amazon, nor does Facebook. Nobody does it, right? So we are simply technology importers. And these are the two things that I want to talk about. I do have a solution, and look forward to talking about how we can solve this. I don't think it has to be restricted to India has been an open country. We've come this far by being open. I don't want to go back to the pre-91 era. So we want to be an open country. And I think there are models from the auto industry, there are models from the insurance industry, which we can adopt here in technology and probably find a middle ground to actually have the best of the both worlds.
Very interesting points. And I'm going to come back to both of you on things that you left there to be asked again. But before that, this, I mean, it's very well done that you kind of separated these two things. Big tech needs to be regulated, and the interest of the consumer, or the way Anand, for example, you are putting it. I get that separation. Let us understand where we are now. And that why are we asking this question is also got a lot to do with geopolitical environment, right? There are chatters about the absence of Chinese investors who were helping build a lot of companies in India. I mean, people sometimes talk openly, sometimes they don't, but depending who you ask, you will get a lot of anxious answers on that. That is one. Then you are seeing the rise of Jio as a platform where actually you are watching the world's biggest platforms participating, right? It has never happened. I can't. I mean, you two are veterans. You will know better. I haven't watched that. Now, all these forces that we see are, I think, kind of pushing this question on many of us. So, what is the future of Indian startup ecosystem in that sense? Whether you call it national interest that needs to be protected, not just national startups, or whether you should raise a China wall to protect them, no matter which way you look at it. But I just want both of you to address the elephant in the room, because the question, why now? And I think these are the two events that are forcing us to ask this question. So what is the future of Indian startup ecosystem? Both of you have been involved with so many startups. You shape opinions, you shape companies. What do you think lies up there?
Look, so I can make a couple of points, and then Anand would have his solution, big solution. But I think startups need money. I think that's indisputable. Innovation doesn't thrive in vacuum. It needs to be supported with capital. And India doesn't have enough domestic capital or enough positively inclined domestic capital or channelized right. We do need foreign capital at this stage, right? For example, in China, they don't need foreign capital now. For they edge out foreign capital in all good deals there in the VC space, right? Most foreigners are now saying, we don't want to go to China because the domestic funds are so strong. We are not at that stage. We need capital. And I think we should welcome all capital if it comes without color, right? And it should be welcome in the sense capital should be welcome. Capital wants in and out. It wants mobility. It wants transparent taxation rules. I think there is a lot of work that needs to be done by the Indian state to make India more capital seeking country, right? This is what Chinese also did. They attracted huge amount of foreign capital. And I think that's where sometimes our bureaucratic model of governance lets us down. So that is one issue. And I don't think there should be any walls or barrier to capital, so long as it's capital without color. That is one. The second issue is, look, 50% or more of our economy in next 10 to 20 years will be digital. And this is reality. I'm not just faking numbers, right? This is where the world is moving. And now you have to think as an Indian state and Indian thought leaders and say, what part of that economy we just don't want our own entrepreneurs to have a go at, or our own national interest to prevail in, right? And we just want to give free run, right? Like Chinese said, we don't want even 1% of that economy to be with the Americans, right? But we cannot also say that we will have, fringes of that economy left to Indian entrepreneurs, right? This is the key question. And if you look at the core of that economy, it's about mobile phones, it's about 5G, it's about cloud technologies, it's about AI, it's about all of that where we are losing our competitive edge as a nation, right? And inevitably, we'll have to create our national champions, right? Who will not even have the power just to leverage the domestic audience that we have, but why cannot we create TikToks now, which can go out? We created Infosys and we created TCS. We just cannot stay there, right? The world has moved to a different model. And I think a greater opportunity is available if these issues are sorted out. Word is the market, right? But it starts from India, right? TikTok first understood consumer behavior from its app before Chinese, right? Day one, they didn't go and launch in America. But we now have enough belief, capital, access to capital, and talent maturity. I think it's a perfect storm time in India, next 10 years. We didn't have it 10 years back, to be honest. We didn't have enough people who understood how products are built. We didn't have enough understanding of how AI worked. We didn't have this kind of pervasive cloud infrastructure available 10 years back, which we have thanks to Amazon and thanks to Google. They've done some great work also, we have to appreciate. We didn't have 4G network as pervasively available as Jio. They've changed the game, right? We didn't have UPI, right? All of this is together now with talent and money. So I think this is a perfect storm, and this is where we have to play our game right. If we play the game right, I think trillions of dollars of wealth is in front of us 10 years from now. If we play like without thinking, kar rahe hain, then it'll be a few $1 billion. We'll have 50, 60 unicorns. We'll be happy. That is also a possibility.
Anand?
So how ambitious we want to be?
Yeah, that's a big question. How ambitious we want to be. What is your solution?
Pankaj, let's say that let's say that we want to welcome all big tech companies. Let's say we are open, right? The question is that we don't want them to come and create chaebols here, right? And there will be like Google who will own the market, and there will be a Jio who will own the market, and maybe one or two other Indian conglomerates, and then there's one conglomerate of Google, one by Facebook. We don't want that also, right? We want a larger ecosystem, broader ecosystem, and yet we want and there are models, right? So if you look at what happened in the auto ecosystem, we have a lot of foreign companies, right? But these are all India-based companies. They have to manufacture in India. Because they have to manufacture in India, right? They have to create a supplier ecosystem, right? There's a full auto component ecosystem, and actually now slowly India actually has become an exporter of cars. We actually export more vehicles, including two-wheelers now, than we import, right? Now of course, consumer interest will tell you that we should be importing all the free cars from abroad, right? Because that's in the consumer interest, for example. And not saying against Rajesh, but there will be activists who will be saying that the car should be very cheap, right? I mean, and we should be giving a free pass to a Chinese manufacturer or a German manufacturer. Why do we need to tax them, right? Because we need to develop that as a capability. That's the reason. So why can't we flip the same model, right? And instead of trying to capture the sales job of Google or sales job of Facebook, why haven't these companies been developing tech know-how? What's happening in Silicon Valley today? Right? We are the second largest market after Silicon Valley in the world, right? Largest available market. Of course, China is there, but not available to open or to any country. All of these companies have development centers, right? Practically every second entrepreneur is either ex-Facebook or ex-Google or connected to these companies, right? But how many ex-Google and ex-Facebook employees have started startups in India? Pankaj, you know this answer? The answer is near zero, right? Because for obvious reasons, the technology is not developed in India. Right? So we are not really capturing wealth creation. All of these companies are listed in US, right? So the wealth creation is only for American shareholders, right? The one big reason why there is no capital to come into startups in India, because we haven't been able to make money from big tech in India. So there is no money available no capital to go back into startups. Right? People made tons of money, the trillions of dollars that have been made in Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Apple, and Amazon, right, is the money which has gone back into startups, right? And that money, that avenue is not available to India, because while in auto we said companies will have to be come to India and list in India, we have Hindustan Lever, the FMCG company, foreign parentage, company has been listed in India. Insurance, for example, companies have to come to India and list in India. Banks have to come to India and list in India. Right? We have a model there. It just so happened that big tech being big tech, right? They mastered the art of lobbying, both in US and now also in India, and we are aware of how they've taken over some of the institutions in India. The challenge is then, and of course, it's not just the big tech, right? It's also some of the big Indian business houses, right? They have mastered the art of owning the space and ensuring that this regulation doesn't apply. So what we need is we need to welcome global companies, tell them bring your capital, right? Do development here. Right? If you import something, import technology, there will be a use tax, because there is an import tax on everything that we import, right? Anything which is locally developed, you pay the same taxes as what Indian entrepreneurs. Today, the sad part, Pankaj, is that a global company neither pays an import duty nor pays GST, which is just amazing, right? This is what Rajesh was referring to, right? We have a free pass. By the way, an Indian company, SaaS company, cannot swipe your credit card automatically every month. They were not allowed to without two-factor authentication. But a global company can do it. Till last year, it was allowed. RBI was mute to it, because that's the whole problem, right? There is a outright advantage to a global tech company in India, right? Without really creating technology wealth in India or market cap in India. And we need to ensure both happen. We need to ensure that FDI, see, once I can tell you one thing, if Amazon was an Indian company with an aim to list in India, right? And not every European country or Southeast Asian country can insist, Google will have 20 subsidiaries listed in their country, but India is different, right? I mean, we are 1/5 of the world's population. We are the second largest market outside US, right? If that's the case, and if we insist that these companies list in India, right, we will both have technology creation and wealth creation, and I'm okay. The fact is, national interest is served because there is an Indian company bound by Indian laws and regulations, served by a CEO based in India. Right? So the next time the Indian Parliament invites a global CEO, they are not shown the tiny finger there. Right? That's the point. Right? And that's what we need to ensure. Right? And it's an easy model. We've done it actually. Right? The way I would propose this, Pankaj, is that I definitely don't appreciate the knee-jerk reactions by the government. The country should be ruled first by the rule of law. So we need legal procedures. We need actually a lot of laws coming up. Right? We are short on laws. Second should be regulators. We have a regulator in insurance. We have a regulator in power. So every state, every power producer is regulated by the CERC for power, right? So there is practically a regulator to take care of consumer interest and industry interest in every with a banking regulator. This is the RBI, right? We don't have a regulator in digital media. Right? The second, after first, which will be legislation. Second should be regulator. Third would be occasional, sporadic, bureaucratic, or political action. And I would say the third one is the least recommended. Definitely don't encourage knee-jerk reactions by the government. Right? And I think the first two would serve us much better. We don't want to be in a situation where government has ad hoc action, because ad hoc actions usually eventually in the long run will get influenced by big tech again. So I think we can't sit here and celebrate ad hoc action by the government. I hope that ad hoc actions are just a precursor to legislation and regulatory bodies.
Very well put, Anand. And I think very actionable stuff that you talked about. Rajesh, what Anand is saying, if you look at his playbook or the recipe that he's offering here, is the twofold model. Get them to list like a Maruti Suzuki or HUL or something like that, but also have a regulator. Now, these are two things which kind of, I don't know, I smell a little bit of license Raj, I smell a lot of complexities, I smell a lot of gray areas. So are we biting, should we bite into this? I mean,
Look, internet, when it sort of started, it was, I was there, right? I've aged, but it was free word, right? The whole premise of internet always been less regulation, free word, right? But I think today the stakes are at a stage where some amount of, it's beyond self-regulation now. I think the companies have become so big, one could not envisage that Google will be $1 trillion company or Amazon will be a $2 trillion company, and so these giants today, from Alibaba, there is this emergence of these 10-15 giants who wield a lot of power today, right? So it is not as much idealistic I want to be about internet, and I think Anand also will appreciate that. But it's beyond us now. It's a genie is out of the bottle. So some regulation is required. The question is how much. The other issue with the technology is the technology is becoming very pervasive. Automobile industry is as disrupted today as insurance by technology.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
whose domain it is, right? If it comes to insurance, then insurance regulator is already there. So new kind of insurance products are being created by technology, right? Which couldn't be created earlier. So who's going to regulate that? Insurance regulator, or we'll have a tech regulator? And same is for automobile, by the way. Automobile is the biggest disruption is happening with EV and software driven companies and autonomous vehicles. So in the stage of technology is that it's disrupting every industry, right? I was in Reliance at one point of time and I was telling them the voice will become free, right? And today voice is free, right? Business of telecom is not voice, it's data right now, right? So who will regulate that? And that is now today most of the calls are made on WhatsApp, right? WhatsApp is the biggest voice call. I don't make any calls now. If I look at myself, I'm sure Anand also, if I were to talk to Anand, I'll just go on WhatsApp and call him, right? Where I don't go to address book and look at his mobile number and then I'm going to call him. It's so inconvenient, right? So I think this is the world that we're living in, is complex, right? So we have to think through what does that tech regulator mean, because that, and also Anand, we know that regulator is always 2 steps behind. They never get it, right?
Rajesh,
history has shown they never get it.
No, Rajesh, I put a caveat that I am actually in a difficult position as a VC.
Yeah.
Inviting regulation actually is a conundrum. But I can tell you that none of us in the internet world, right? I mean, we ever thought that it will end up being monopolized by 2-3 companies, right? I don't think that was the whole idea. It was supposed to be a place where you could challenge anybody. But today, Rajesh, it's not like that, right? I mean, I'll just
no, you're right. Even if you look within China, the 3 players are dominating it.
Exactly.
And that's why this guy got wrapped by Xi, right?
And I think even in general, Rajesh, in general, strengthening the judiciary and having an ombudsman separately for technology competitive issues, right? That itself will be a big help, right? I mean,
I think we should think through it, and there should be, if you say Nandan Nilekani should be a regulator, I'll say yes.
No.
If you say IAS officer will be a regulator, I'll say, let's think through it, boss.
With all due regards to what Nandan and his team have done, I can tell you, let me just point out an issue with UPI, right? Now, UPI has been kept free, right? Because we're looking for adoption, right? The thing is basically, so let me put it this way: UPI has been kept free for the benefit of global players, because it's the way it's designed today. However deep-pocketed you are, no Indian startup has the long-lasting power, because you can't charge anything on UPI by regulation, right? So it's been designed to be cornered by Google and WhatsApp and maybe Walmart, right? It's been designed that way. In fact, there is no visibility today as to when you can start charging on UPI, right? And hence, I would say that, it is unfortunately designed to be handed over on a platter. And what you will see, Rajesh, that, there will be three large global players owning UPI, which is an Indian invention, right? And all due regards to Nandan and his team and everybody else. But what are they doing? They are designing it to be handed over to global players who are not even listed in India. The wealth creation because of UPI will be happening on American bourses. It would be a shame, right? That's my point.
No,
So
point taken. No,
yeah, I think we need to go there to sort of say, okay, forget regulation. Let us first have the ability to regulate. This regulation you can do only on Indian companies that we've seen already now, right? We
yeah.
have
So
zero
I'm
ability.
saying it's beyond regulation. The point that you're raising is what is the intent?
Yeah.
Right? What is the intent? Do we want our entrepreneurs to create wealth, or we want to create platforms and then let someone else create wealth on them?
I would say let us define the jurisdiction. Right? Let us first forget regulation. Let us first bring all of these players who are in India, right? Whether they are monopolistic or not, whether they are behaving big tech or not, let us first bring them into India.
I have we have final 10 minutes, and
Sure.
listening to both of you, something got triggered, and I want your answers on that. I used to track a company called Tejas Networks. I don't know if you have heard about it.
I know, yeah.
Sanjay Deshpande, amazing hustler, great entrepreneur. I have listened to his stories of pain when the whole telecom revolution was happening, because not just the equipment vendors from China, but even the European telecom vendors, they could give credit lines. Huawei actually, which is a state-owned, they could offer any credit line to any telecom company in India, and they kept getting beaten. And they were trying hard to lobby. They were trying exactly the things that we are discussing today are the battles he was fighting back then. But we let them languish. The other example is even something as small as Picopita, Simputer, all those inventions, right? So the point I'm trying to make is, are we too late to be asking this question now? Because both of you are also accepting that it is far more complex than what we imagined. And unlike China, we did not start that way. Now we have gotten here with this complexity.
No, so you're right. So that's what I said. We cannot build a Great Wall of China. If a Great Wall of India is almost an impossible concept, if it were to be built, it will be porous and of no use. But what we can do, and I think there are pointers, there are a lot of things we can do, and it's not that our state is powerless or we don't have right people here. We can create migration of high value jobs here. We have the talent. Right? This is what we want. This is the point Anand was making.
Yeah.
So how do we incentivize that? PLI schemes. There has to be carrot and stick, not just call center jobs or high value jobs. This is what creates a virtuous cycle of wealth creation. Right? That's possible. Development centers. What percentage of your patents are coming from there? There's that. A lot of thought can be put by. We have very bright people who can enable that through incentive, carrot and stick. The other issue is how do we take part? Either we create wealth in our own companies, preferable, right? Or second is we allow our investors to create wealth in that is being created out of our consumers, right? So Anand took examples of Hindustan Lever and Nestle. Let's say these two companies are listed here.
Yeah, exactly.
And Indian stock operate. They don't have to list here, honestly speaking, right? They could. There has always been a debate in these two companies, should they list here, right? But historically they got listed.
There is no unlisted FMCG company operating in India, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah, because that's not the model we've allowed, because it's a manufacturing concern. All the Indian companies will be up in arms. I mean, I'll give you an example. Sorry, Rajesh. Just an example of discounting. Right? Today, Amazon is discounting, and we're celebrating the FDI. Right? Now, just give an example on steel production. Right? Let's say there's a global steel company which is dumping steel into India, right? And discounting 10%. Just 10% discounting, no major discounting. Good for the consumer, right? Fabulous for the consumer. Just imagine what was the reaction of the industry, the government, all of us. I think what's happened is that somehow in our zeal for looking liberal and pro-Western tech, right? Because it's cool to do so on Twitter, right? We have sort of started looking at tech companies in a different way, because I think all of us will agree here that steel companies should not be allowed to dump, right? But all of us are also agreeing that Google should be allowed to do whatever they are doing, or Amazon should be allowed to do whatever they're doing, right? That's the challenge. And I think, which is why I'm saying, bring them into India, right? They are welcome. Amazon should be told, dude, welcome. You brought enough capital. Now, next 3 years, you go to IPO and raise Indian capital and fight. No, then there is a fair fight. Then the fight is very fair, because Indian capital then will pick between Indian entrepreneurs and Amazon, right? And then the discounting will be fair, right? Depending, supported by the Indian market. Even if they do very well because of discounting, even if Google does very well because of whatever they're doing, right? All of it will be captured as an Indian company. And by the way, also technical know-how, right? I think at some point then they'll stop importing technology. Right? So I think solve for first technical know-how, second wealth creation, and third for whether it's an Indian entrepreneur or a Western company. I think in that order. I think just solving for Indian founders is while as a VC it's important, but I'd rather have an overall thriving ecosystem. I think if Google start developing product here, in the long run, I as a VC will also develop, because it'll help me, because a lot of people will actually be in India. Today, best of our talent actually is pulled away from our colleges, goes into Google US, right?
I think what is also happening, Anand, is I'm happy you brought this point. Developing products in India is also a misnomer, because the kind of it all becomes a PR exercise.
Absolutely.
Made in India. Yeah.
Pankaj, I've spoken to engineers who joined Google India, right, and said it's a sales company. It is, and that's the point, right? I mean, every time we see jobs created, they're call center jobs. That's all they are.
Great. So this brings us to the, this is a conversation that can keep going. I mean, and I'm enjoying it, but we have to wrap this up. Some great actionable insights came. I hope people who listen to this, some of them are policymakers, some of them are influencers, and some of them are entrepreneurs. I think the point both Rajesh you made and Anand you made are so valid, and they offer some close to practical solutions, like this whole model of Maruti Suzuki, HUL, Nestle. Why can't we look at the digital companies and platforms through the same lens? I mean, why not? Is a very important point. What Rajesh talked about is equally important, the consumer interest, and we need to focus on national interests. Absolutely. We can't have wall either. I mean, this is one of those precarious situations nobody imagined. And India is unique for its complexity, which is what I'm picking here, because I'm unable to pick one size fits all, one thumping solution to this problem is what I'm picking from this conversation, which is very Indian, I would say. That's how India is. I hope we find some clarity, some small steps in this chaos. I find your recommendations very useful, and I hope this gets amplified. So thank you, Anand, and thank you, Rajesh.
Thanks, Pankaj. Thanks, Anand.
Pleasure.
Thanks,
This was good.
Joji.
Yeah, thank you.
Great.